So get the beard settled here. It's an awareness tool as well. I like to record these. I go over them later. I get lots of value out of them. They're just pretty cool, and so yeah, I like to. I share them on YouTube sometimes also. So all good, brilliant, Rachel. Yeah. So you know what? Let me. I'm
had
just
to
gonna,
close down. I've had to close down.
Yeah, I would recommend you close down all your windows. Yeah, as many as you can. That does affect. It does affect the. Yeah, me do the same thing. All right, I gotta leave one up. Yeah.
That should make it faster.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm just gonna leave up one so that I can monitor comments. In case there are any comments. I don't know who will respond because we're just doing it kind of impromptu, and before I usually kind of schedule them on that. Not that I have a usual. I haven't done too many of these, but just in case, it's kind of interesting to see. I enjoy the comments. I'm keen to chat with you, but it's I don't like to waste, and it's so cool to share you with the group, and we chat about such nice stuff. So I don't know, it's just cool, and like I was saying in the comment there, I'm very keen to encourage people to. I see God's already there. I'm very keen to encourage more to chat. It's just in the group now, not necessarily on a live chat, but just to post and comment and interact. I think people are a bit shy, and also, I suspect very much a lot of it is the nature of the posts that are shared. I mean, like for instance, the post that I make. I post a lot of posts, and I'm familiar with posting. And so I think people say, well, but I can't make posts like that. I don't care. Share anything. Tell me what your cat did if you want to. It doesn't matter. Anything or tell me what's on your mind, in your heart. Not you. I'm saying people in general. You know what I mean? 1 second.
I think I've been disconnected.
No. That was me pausing. Garth asked, "What's the topic?" And I do have a topic that I want to chat about. So I'm just going to type that in. I want to chat about trust without trusting.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I'm hold on that. I don't want to get going on that because if we do start, then I kind of like all it comes out and you can't get it back. That energy gets spent. So I just want to type that there. That's a powerful a powerful topic, and you asked specifically about it. And it's a very good question you asked, and your comments on that. So that's very powerful. I should have put that in the. I'm gonna add it. I'm gonna add it to the. I'm gonna add it to the group thing. And you know what? I didn't.
Oh, that sounds better.
Yeah,
it opens you up twice.
Yeah, well, I want to also edit the event to add a nice picture. Man, I forgot to put the picture in. I gotta have a nice picture, right? It's very important. The pictures are, I don't know if you've seen my posts. Where do I edit this now? I don't know if you see in my posts just the style. I kind of have a style of pictures that I like a little bit. So I don't know. It just adds for me. It's my little bit of art in the world. I can't paint or draw or anything to save my life, but
yeah.
But my art is choosing art, right? The collation, in other words. All right, I'm just waiting on this here. All right, here we go. Impromptu chat with Rachel. Edit that, and let's see. Event name. Let's see. About trust. Trusting. Oh, it's such a fabulous topic, this. Sorry, I have to leave out marvelous. I don't have enough space to put it all in. Sorry. Just Facebook, in the title, they give you a limited amount of characters, so. Just without trusting. Well, I can leave it in the description. Yeah, I can leave it in. Brilliant. So it's all good. All right, I gotta find a nice picture. Let's see. I know exactly which one I want to put for you. I don't have that many right now to choose from, but this is gonna work. It will work. There's my pictures aren't random. There's I saw it earlier because I was picking a picture for the other event I put up. They are abstract representations of my view on things. See, so you tell me if you have a look in the group. You closed your Facebook window, right, Rachel?
Yeah. I closed the Facebook.
Okay. All right. Never mind. You know what? Let me. Yeah. No worries then.
My iPad.
Yeah. No, it's best to leave it. It's best to leave it because if you put it up, it does affect the bandwidth and all that. So yeah, it does make a difference. All right.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that this is a long distance call as well, because when I talk to my friends online, on my video chat, it lags quite a lot.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it goes through as a call unless you use the phone number. If you use the link, then you're just doing it over the internet. But if you logged in via a phone number, then yeah, you can do it as a call. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Live on Facebook. I'm just setting us up. I'll tell you when we go live on Facebook itself. We're not there yet. Say in a group. The name of the group. It just in Zoom. If you see the little more button on your bottom right there of the when you hover your mouse at the bottom of your screen, it brings up mute, the microphone button, and then to the right of those it says more, and then there's a little button in case you want to ever do this yourself with somebody. Then you just click on more, and then it says go live on Facebook, and then it brings up a face. It opens up a Facebook window. in which it shows the live and shows the preview there. Everything is good. All right. So on that window that it opens up in Facebook, that's where I have a big old button there that says live. And since it's 1 minute to 9, see how perfectly our timing worked out. How cool is that, Rachel?
Sorry, I'm always fiddling with my appearance whenever I see it. I'm just like,
you prump away all you like. Truly, it's all good, man. It's all good. No worries. All right. So, all right, I'll click go live. Hey, look, compared to me, Rachel, I said, compared to me, anything's an improvement. Hey, now you look, I mean, right? Okay, you don't need to comment. You don't need to respond to that. I'm just being an ass.
I mean, like, I don't know. I always feel like I look really stupid and horrible.
Wow.
You know?
Join the club.
But
Join the club. Join the club.
I mean, who doesn't have self-confidence?
Yeah, it's fascinating when you get into, like, with celebrities even, and models. They have the same nonsense. It doesn't matter how people look, some of them, they can be insecure, and then there's others who just couldn't care, so does it really matter? You know what I mean? No, not.
I wish I didn't care.
and if it does matter, and to whomever it does matter, if you're going to be caring about how I look, well, that sort of just puts you in a whole different ball of wax and category. And then if you're caring about who, what I look like, you're not really going to be hearing what I'm saying. So, right, Rachel? All right,
Yeah.
we are live.
Yeah, I'm just.
So yeah, so we are live, and I know that, or at least the topic for today for me is very much to talk about trusting without trusting. But before we get going, Rachel, we had a nice chat before, and we connected, and you told me a bit about you. So just for those who don't know you yet, know you the way I know you, just maybe introduce yourself a little bit, tell us a little bit about you, share a bit of your story, just like what you told me about you. I want to hear more of your story. So you're looking off into the distance there.
Yeah, that's because I'm getting my book. This is what I'm into. So that's a big point to me. I don't really know else what to say. Like long walks on the beach.
Like a little bit about you, like, just where you at, what you're about, what's important to you, anything. I don't know, just whatever you feel like saying,
Oh, God.
There you
I'm
go.
better when people ask me questions about myself. I'm not very good at summarizing.
All right, no worries. It'll come as we go then. Okay, no worries, no worries.
Okay.
Truly not a problem. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I was just trying to, be polite, to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself a bit. So no problem, Rachel. No problem at all. Yeah, to talk about that post, the foundations of integrity, that post that you commented on, which was a chat I had with a very dear friend about their relationship at the time, and just all the things that are involved in the relationship. But I want to go over the whole post. But you mentioned in the comment about trusting and how you find it difficult to trust sometimes. Yes.
Yeah.
And to know when to trust.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a very powerful point, and so we do have a topic that we're discussing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You lagged a bit.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a delay with the call. I don't find it easy to trust people because I'm always assuming that there's an ulterior motive, trusting life. So to me, that when somebody's being really nice to me, it comes across as actually they've got an ulterior motive, and that they are are trying to set me up for something, or they're trying to grill me for information, or depending on the situation, depends what goes through my mind. But I always think that there's an ulterior
Gotcha,
motive to it,
gotcha.
and
Right, right,
I'm
right.
always suspicious.
Yes, and that can definitely cause problems. Especially if we don't know when to trust, how much to trust.
Yeah.
We have doubts, and it could be, it could not be. And there's ambiguity involved, which almost always there is. Okay, so I have a little story for you on this, just to get us started. Like you watch those nature programs and you see the zebra or the deer or the wildebeest or whatever, they're going down to the water hole, but right near the water hole the lions are kind of chilling out, and they just parked off there and they're all relaxed, and they're pretty close to the water hole, and so the zebras have to go past the lions pretty close because otherwise they can't get to the water. And they do go, because they know the lions have eaten, and they can see that the lions are just chill and they're not kind of in hunting mode. So that's kind of a little separate thing there, because they can see the intent of the lions. And all of us actually have a really profound skill for seeing intent. We just have to activate that and ask that question. But here's the key point. So that's a separate point. We'll get a little bit back to that later. But the key point is that no matter how thirsty those zebra might be, there's a certain point, a closeness. It's like a line around those lions, and they won't go closer than that line on the ground, because that's like the commitment point. If they go within that range, they committed. And no matter how much they think they're safe at that point, that if the lion wants to attack them, there's no getting away, right? So that's a commitment line for the zebra, and they won't cross that no matter how thirsty they are. They'll rather die of thirst than cross that line, because to them that's like a guarantee. The key is about commitment. So they'll trust those lions as long as they still have a chance to run away, right? But they won't trust them inside that commitment point. So in other words, what they do when they go down to the water, and they much closer to the lions than they would ever come in any other circumstance, but they sort of forced to trust. So they trust without trusting. In other words, they don't cross that commitment line. They don't commit to anything which can get them into trouble. But they say, okay, we'll trust you because everything looks good. And we can do the exact same with people. We don't have to commit to anything. We don't have to get into any involvement with them. And we can give them the benefit of the doubt to say, okay, you look like you're all okay and chill and fine and everything. And I will give you the benefit of the doubt and just assume, to make things easy and so that I can interact with you at least, that you're okay and there's not a problem. But I'm not getting into anything where I'm committed. I'm not getting into any deals with you. I'm not into engagements until I know better, until I know for sure that I actually really can trust you. And that's trust without trusting. It's not making that commitment and just giving the benefit of the doubt until you know better. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes sense.
And
I'm not very good at that, because it's just like,
right.
something.
Right. So, I mean, you can say, look, I am suspicious, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, which means you keep both going at the same time.
Yeah. That's something I'm trying to work on. Is just like, okay, I've got that niggling in the back of my mind. Wow. If I keep that at the back of my mind, but then basically just say, well, maybe they're just a dodgy person by nature, and until they've done something, then maybe I should just just be like, well, that could just be, the way it is, until you've actively done something. Then,
exactly.
I get this whole feeling that just keeps that builds and builds and builds until it's like, you're up to something. I have a lot of deep psychological issues anyway.
Right. But here's the key point of my story, though. See, for the zebra, right, they know that no matter what, that lion is still a lion. No matter how chill that lion is still a lion.
Yeah.
And, and you can say, okay, people, no matter how nice they appear, they are still people, and people can be anything. So, okay, the lion, they eat zebra, but people don't necessarily eat us, but at the same token, they're capable of doing so. So we always have to keep that in mind, no matter what, that people can be lions too. So no matter how nice and relaxed and chill and not hungry they are, that can change. So people can change into all sorts of things. So we have to always keep that in mind. And it's trust without trusting. It applies to everything pretty much, and it enables us to set our lives strategically. And like I said, for those zebra, there's that commitment line. They don't go over that line no matter what. So you
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
you have to understand that too.
It's,
So it's pretty easy.
it's the that's one of the things that I like about shamanism, because they're very much into like the ideology of shapeshifting. You don't have to be a zebra. You could turn,
Right.
because then the lion's got something to worry about. Or you can
Exactly.
turn yourself into
Exactly.
like a bigger predator,
Right.
for example.
Right.
So that's what I try and keep myself in mind, that just because humans can be humans and humans are like 50-50, some are bad, some are good, it's just about sussing them out. Until you've done that, then I don't have to necessarily be a human, and I can turn myself into something more fierce than a human. That makes sense.
Exactly. You bring up, since we're on the animal analogies now, we may as well stick there, which leads to a really nice, powerful point. Everybody says, they want to be the lion. They want to be the top predator. It's like, hell no, me, I don't interested in being the lion, because that's a
No.
big pain in the ass. I really not interested. I'll be the elephant. The elephant's not a predator. It's pretty chill, does its own thing. If the elephant comes along, what does the lion do? If the elephant's walking and the lion's in its path, the lion bloody gets out of the way, right? So be an elephant. Just be your own thing. Just be awesome within yourself.
Yeah.
Have independence of being. You're not part of that ecosystem of, eating each other and running away and being a predator or not a predator. I don't want to be a bloody predator, and I don't want to be prey either. I want to be outside of that system. And to me, the elephant represents other. I don't want to be part of that hierarchical system of battling each other and superiority. All of that nonsense. No, I'll just be my own thing. I'll just be my own elephant. End of story. Life is easy. Or be a whale. Yeah, a whale's not concerned with lions either, right? Same thing.
To be honest with you, the whale is concerned with the
Rachel,
whale. Killer whale.
you're breaking up a lot, and I'm struggling to hear you a bit. How far away are you from your modem, from your wireless modem? Maybe move closer to it if you can. It might help your, or plug your laptop directly into the modem with a cable if you have that, the Ethernet cable.
I don't. I'm in my bedroom, and it's literally inside that wall.
You can't get closer to it.
No, because I've got a full house. I live with my mum and 5 brothers. So it's just literally
five brothers. Oh.
Yeah. So this is unfortunately the best I can do. This is a really cheap laptop. I got it for like second hand, for like 50 quid.
No worries.
It's really rubbish.
Yeah, it's all good. Just like whatever you can possibly close on the laptop, close every single little window. That will help.
The only thing that's currently open is Zoom.
You're right. Okay. It may just be the nature of your connection then. All right, no worries. We'll just.
But it's just the it's actually because that.
Man, I'm hearing like a wild sound that, like, I don't know, like a spinning sound of some kind that comes through.
Yeah, it's the laptop. It's making unhealthy noises, and I'm trying to make it be quiet.
Oh, right. I just think just kind of leave it be for a little bit, and the less you mess with it, probably it'll settle down. So no worries. I'm easy enough. I can more or less hear you.
Sorry about that.
Oh, truly, don't worry about it. We have to test these things and check them out, and do as best we can. It's truly not a worry. It just is what it is.
Sorry, I do have a really bad connection because my like I said before, my house, everybody is on the internet, and we have this issue where we have a really good Sky package. It's just
Ah, right, right. Well,
Streaming all day, every day. We have to replace it.
go and unplug all their computers, right, real quick, or kick them off or something, right? No worries, Rachel.
I
No
got
worries.
kind of Coke.
Yeah. So anyway, I was just going to say a little bit more about being that elephant is really powerful, and the same thing with trust without trusting. It goes also because we in the last time we chatted, we spoke about all sorts of different things, and particularly about belief systems and beliefs, and how we relate to the world and how we connect to the world and how we understand things like spirit or God or your variation, your particular aspect of God. And or the universe and our relation to it, and all of that is actually connected to trust without trusting, because we can apply that in the form of believe without believing or accept without accepting. So that same thing applies, that no matter what
Yeah.
belief that we have to always remember it is a belief, and a belief by definition is not a fact.
Yeah.
So as long as we know for a fact that it's a
No.
belief, well, then we just say, because it's a belief, I'm forced to trust without trusting that it's okay. It may or may not be true or not. But we can get really sophisticated and say, does it really matter? If I set myself up in such a way that whether or not something is true or not, either way, I get value. And we can do that. It's a sophisticated strategy, but it's incredibly powerful. And that way we can transcend beliefs. Doesn't matter sometimes whether it's true or not. Let's put it this way. Let's take the
That's
notion.
like Jesus.
Oh, I didn't hear, but let me just finish that to say real quick. Let's just take the concept of the afterlife, right? So I believe in the afterlife. Now, I'm going to set myself strategically to live my life in such a way that whether or not the afterlife exists, I'm going to get value out of it. Rachel, I'm going to just I'm gonna just put you on. I'm just gonna put you on mute while I finish this little story. Then I won't hear that what's coming through there. All right. So I was gonna say. So I this concept of the afterlife. I'm going to approach it from this idea or this conception of believing without believing and accepting without accepting. And I'm going to get value either way, whether it's true or not. And I'm going to do it in this way. So I'm going to set my life to prepare myself and do everything I can in this life to live the best that I can and enjoy and make that potentially useful for the afterlife. So in this case, like for instance, and this is what the whole way of impeccability is all about and what we deal with in the course that I was telling you about. So we set ourselves to live impeccably. And in doing so, we learn to manage our energy. We learn to manage our moods. We learn to be live with integrity and with sensibility and to see the bigger picture and to expand our awareness and all sorts of marvelous things, change our self-conception, all sorts of wonderful things. When we do that, right, we are leveraging ourselves to live in a way in the here and now, which is more effective, more efficient, more joyful, more connected, more aware, and all sorts of moreness. However, those same qualities, when I work on my patience, I work on my integrity, I work on my awareness, I work on my connectivity, I work on the way I feel the world, all of these things, those are things, patience and say integrity, for instance, those are qualities which are going to benefit me in any circumstance. So even if there is an afterlife, or if there is an afterlife, those same qualities are going to benefit me there also, are they not? So that's the power of dealing with things from the point of believing without believing or accepting without accepting or even trust without trusting. Because either way, I get benefits. So if it turns out there's no afterlife, so what? I've made the best of the life now. If it turns out there is an afterlife, all my efforts in this life to live to the best that I can now are also beneficial then. So I get benefit either way. And that's sophisticated strategy. It's what the whole way of impeccability is all about, maximizing your options. So it's a very powerful application of accepting without accepting, believing without believing, trusting without trusting. They all conceptions without commitment. Very powerful, very powerful. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
there's a bit of a lag between when when we stop talking and you hear that I've stopped. So we just have to kind of allow for that little bit of pause. Now, what
Yeah.
I was saying, Rachel, if you apply that same thing to dealing with people, how would that work for you? If you think of somebody that recently that you've dealt with, that you were kind of suspicious about, that you may have wanted to deal with and interacted with, but you didn't quite know, and maybe the suspicion got the better of you and you didn't interact, or you did. Either way, I don't know. I'm just saying, how would it apply to an instance where trust was a problem?
I can put it in terms of meeting new people, because I'm very suspicious of people I don't know. If somebody started, if I was in a shop, for example, a coffee shop in Nero, and somebody kept staring at me a lot, I'd be like, "Why are you staring at me? What are you planning? What are you planning on doing?" Because I mentioned before that I'm transgender, obviously, to tell my face.
Well, I don't know about obviously, but yeah, okay,
I'm always like, oh my god, they're gonna be nasty to me because they can tell that I'm transgender.
Oh, but why? But why would that? Yeah, Rachel, I'm going to put off your video for a while just to see if it makes a difference to the audio. Why would it automatically? No, it doesn't actually make any difference so far. But we'll give it a minute.
Okay.
Rachel, why would it automatically be problematic if you're transgender?
Because I know it's not like a constant thing, but I have had quite a lot of people, who have been like, "Oh, sorry," they get in my way and then say, "Sorry, sir." They misgender me. They know me beforehand, and then they dead name me, which is basically coming by the name I was born with, or because of the anti-trans activists in the media. You're slated, not all the time, but sometimes. When I go on YouTube, it's everywhere on YouTube, it's everywhere online, it's everywhere in person. People who stare at me, I'm just like, well, oh my god, they're gonna be nasty, X, Y, and Z.
Interesting.
So I've had to I have words with myself about it, because, as I said before, I've had a psychotic illness, I'm on medication, I have paranoia anyway, and anxiety. Which is why my eyes were all shifty and looking around, because I'm just like,
I'm sorry that I laughed. But, I don't mean to be mean in my laughter, Rachel. But I'm just thinking, if you already have that bit of paranoia, and now you add the transgender to that, it's like, man, you're like kind of leveraging that thing to the next level. but
it does. So I've had to learn to manage it.
Right. That's what I wanted to say next.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn to manage my anxiety, because I can't hear. I didn't hear what you said.
No, I stopped because I wanted you to. Sorry, I thought you were finished and then you went, so I just paused so you could finish. Because of the lag, it makes it complicated. So I wanted to just say that but there's a genius to things. So already you had that little bit of a tendency to be suspicious and whatever, all that stuff, right? So but now the transgender comes along, and through the transgender, it forces you to deal with those issues of yourself. It's either that, it's like sink or swim kind of a deal, right? If you don't deal with that, you're going to really, really have problems. Like big time, you won't be able to live, right? So it's forcing you to actually deal with that bit of suspicion and lack of trust and paranoia and all that stuff. Isn't that so?
Yes, that is true. Yeah,
it's profound.
It's like my paranoia. I realize quite a lot that the clinical paranoia that I have will attach itself onto something,
head. You don't have to always have it. I'm just shifting it to past tense rather than locking it into present tense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not like I don't have it still. I still have paranoia.
Right.
And it still doesn't attached to something. It's like if I get chest pains, my laptop. If I get chest pains, then my paranoia will latch onto that and say, "Oh my god, it's a heart attack," and then the
Right,
paranoia will then set off the anxiety, and then they play off each other, and
right,
it turns into something new. And
right,
it's just like,
fascinating.
what?
You know, the reason
What?
I mention it, now I realize that you still have it to some extent, but it's very powerful how we use our language. So you know, when we say
Yeah,
things in a way that's self-limiting and self-defining, they tend to get locked in because we don't want to say untrue things and we're honest. So we don't want to be bullshitting, so we kind of make it true. So yeah, you know, it's sometimes it's tricky when something's still ongoing. So, you know, maybe it's something say paranoia is something I've been dealing with and, you know, I'm working on making it better, which now you're saying a process of improvement and you're describing it that way rather than saying, you know, I have paranoia, which is very definitive and very definite and very locked down. You see what I mean? So like I'm dealing with paranoia. I'm working on improving it. Now,
yeah,
the more you say that, the more you make that true as well. You know, and it's incremental. One doesn't
yeah,
really jump from, you know, having it to not having it in one go, but that incremental thing, you know, every time you say that, it gets a little better until eventually you say, you know what, I used to have paranoia, no longer. And it's very powerful. It's incredibly powerful how that works. But we
yeah,
have to do it in little increments because if you just say suddenly, like, well, I don't have
yeah.
paranoia anymore, of course, that's just bullshit. And your inner self that knows it's bullshit and so on. Now that's not true. And then it just kicks it out and throws it away. So you have to do it in little increments, little bits,
Yeah.
steps. Yeah. Very powerful. But that
That's actually
self-description,
backed up with psychology.
right, right. Self-talk, it's very,
Yeah,
very important.
that's actually,
How we describe ourselves, yeah,
yeah,
very powerful.
yeah,
Uh, Rachel, I want to say one
yeah. I
other
was,
thing too. In the same
okay.
way, in the same way, we spoke about
Mm,
this before, but it's a topic one can never discuss enough. In the same way as we cue ourselves and train ourselves to to in our self-talk and we make things true within ourselves, the way we project and the way we expect things out in the world also cues other people and trains them and causes an expectation in them to behave the way we think that they are going to. So what I'm trying to say is that, you know, like the old saying, victims invite aggression. So if you walk around as a
yeah,
victim, you're going to invite aggression. That's just the nature of reality. And since we have that animal theme going, if you look in nature, that's exactly the way it happens. For instance, and that doesn't. It's not always that way. There's this fabulous video of this little wildebeest baby um, that the lioness wants to attack it. And instead of running away, the little wildebeest baby runs towards the lioness and looks for comfort at the lioness, right? As if it's its mother. And the lioness like doesn't know
yeah.
what to do. And it's like, what the hell is going on now? And so and then her mother instincts rather than her predator instincts got kicked in. The next thing, some other animal comes along. I forget what it was. Maybe another lioness. But anyway, another predator came along and wanted to eat the little baby. And then the lioness, instead of, you know, joining in, defended the little wildebeest baby. It was just phenomenal, you know. So it makes that point of cueing and also how we relate to things. We can change that relationship. So in other words, if you go out there as you know, a transgender or as a victim or as expecting people to pick on you or to be nasty or aggressive, you know, that's going to then in not entirely, but it will, for many people, it will actually cause them to do that where they might not even have had a thought before. It just kicks in that aspect of them. Now if you go out there owning your transgenderness, being comfortable with it and saying I am what I am, if you have a problem, that, you know, just you are what you are. You don't even say if you have a problem with it, that's on you. You just do your own thing and you just chill and you just relax and you just comfortable. End of story. That
Oh,
right.
I mean,
One
don't
last
get me
point.
wrong.
Right. I just want to make one last point. It doesn't mean that there aren't going
Okay.
to be people who are going to pick on you. You know, that's not that they're still going to be there because some people are that's just their thing and that's just what they do. You know, so they can't help themselves. So but knowing that, okay, they're going to be less. They're going to be out there. You'll deal with them when they come, and that is what it is. So you know, it doesn't mean you're going to eliminate it entirely, but you are going to minimize it. That's for sure.
I was actually talking to my mum about that as well. Because when we're out and somebody's like doing that, and after speaking to a therapist who pretty much said word for word what you've just said, um,
No,
it's like I've gone back to therapy
no,
again.
right. But we can be strategic about this because we can do so
Yeah.
much with strategy, and that's a strategy is such a big part of the whole way of impeccability. It's very powerful. So we can be strategic. So if I were to say to you, Rachel, I'm going to pay you. I'm going to make this little TV show. And on this TV show, we pay people to do things. And, everybody says, oh, I couldn't do this. I could never do that. I can't do this because of whatever. And they got all these excuses or reasons or whatever. But so my TV show is about giving people $1 million and then to see if suddenly those reasons still hold, right? For most
Yeah.
people, well, I can't do this because I'm going to give you $1 million. Oh, okay, no problem. I'll do it. Right? That's typically the response. But in your case, I'm going to say to you, Rachel, I want to give you $1 million to not be offended and not be insulted and not be bothered. In other words, I'm paying you $1 million to be uninsultable and unoffendable and unbothered by crap and nonsense, right? Doesn't matter. People can be nasty or mean. You're just going to be uninsultable, unoffendable, and you're going to have this elephant hide. Okay, I'm paying you $1 million to do that. Now, Rachel, how are you going to deal with that?
Well, first of all, if you did that, I'd look at you and laugh and said, I've already done it.
Well, there you go. Exactly. Well, I'm making the point, though, not just for you, because I know you are in that space, but I'm making the point just as a general point. Sometimes all we need
I know.
is a little bit of a shift, a little bit of leverage, and
Yeah.
we set ourselves, if we take, like I was saying to somebody, that we have these inner personalities. Like all of us have got a Mr. or Mrs. Stubborn, or a pride aspect. And, that we can be prideful, but we can turn those to good use. So I can say to myself, for instance, okay, Mr. Stubborn and Mr. Pride, I'm going to put you to good use. I'm going to be stubbornly prideful in not being insultable, in not being bothered, in not being offendable. So I don't care what you do. You're not going to get me. You're not going to offend me. You're not going to bother me. I'm stubbornly prideful in, being this way. So I can leverage those aspects of myself. And when you have that, people they feel it in you. They see it in you. So it's no point in me throwing an insult at you. They may do it anyway because they just can't help themselves, but they know it just bounces off and it doesn't mean anything. So it's a very powerful way to self-leverage ourselves. Self-leverage is it's incredible. It's really powerful. Yeah.
I've got myself to a point where in an argument, I can keep myself looking calm and keep myself, I can hold back what I'm saying and just be like, yeah, and what? But then when I go away and when I'm on my own, then that's when the emotions will surface and kick in.
Yeah. I was going to try your video again because it seems like your connection has settled down a bit. I'm hearing you pretty nicely now. So there you go. You look fine. You see, look at that beautiful smile. It's all cool, man. It's all cool. Like I said, compared to me, it doesn't matter how you look, anything compared to me is an improvement. So got no worries there. But yeah, when we do that, it's most of the time when we bothered about what other people say, it's not them that's the issue. It's our own inner perception of ourselves. And typically when people get offended or insulted, it's by the truth in some way. So you have to make peace with yourself. And you have to make peace with anything that's inside you. And with the transgender issues, I suspect that in some way you're not fully at peace with it yet. Like maybe you say, well, you have doubts, maybe, whatever, and I think that's where the resolution needs to become. If you're fully at peace with it, you own it, it's all yours. Say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is me. This is what I want to do. This is right for me. Nothing's going to touch that. Right?
Yeah, I can do that, but not with Ben Shapiro videos.
Right. All right. So let me ask you when it comes.
Really nasty.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, specifically nastiness and meanness. If somebody else is nasty towards you, what does that have to do with you?
Well, it depends what they're being nasty about.
Makes no
if
difference.
they're
Makes no
being
difference.
nasty because, okay, well, it does to me because it depends, because there are some things I can laugh at and some things I can't.
Right.
Sorry,
What
I
I
didn't
mean
hear
is though,
the audio.
if they are nasty, is that actually a reflection on you that whatever they're nasty about in some way means that there's something wrong with you or something bad about you or whatever?
No, it's more along the lines of a deep issue, whatever kicks in this need to fight. It's why I'm a heathen, because that's what it's all about. It's all about like tempering wisdom and picking your battles wisely and
Right.
what have you.
Right.
So I had a natural pull to that for those reasons,
Right.
because before it was just blind aggression. It's like, okay, you're being nasty to me, so now I'm going to, lash out physically, and I managed to stop that. And now it's
Right.
trying to control my mouth in certain aspects. I can sound like I'm being nasty even when I'm not being.
Right. Right. But
So I'm trying to work
right.
on all that.
Right. So if somebody comes along to you and says, "Oh, you know what? The sky's purple," how do you usually respond to something like that? Something completely absurd and ridiculous that has no connection to anything.
Oh, that doesn't bother me. I'd just be like, yeah, okay.
Exactly, because it's
And
not
then laugh and
connected to
carry on
you.
about my day.
Right. It's just either it's absurd, or you laugh at it, or you just disregard it, or you say, whatever. Or you don't. There's no, because there's no real personal connectivity. It just becomes meaningless and irrelevant. Right. Now, why does nastiness specifically, or meanness, or any kind of negativity, why does that have to be personally connected to us? Why isn't it in the same category of absurdity and preposterousness and ridiculousness as somebody saying the sky is purple? Isn't it equally idiotic and outrageous?
I suppose it all comes back down to bullying, because I'm not very tolerant of people who I perceive to be bullies, and I think it's because of the nastiness and stuff. But to me, it doesn't seem preposterous or out there. It's just somebody is either physically or verbally attacking either me or someone else. So now I need to take steps to protect either that person or myself, because their words in my mind will turn into my mind attacking me.
Right.
It's like if somebody says to me, you'll never you never be a great artist, and I'll just be like, well then what? To their face it'd be like, well, you're entitled to your opinion, you have the right to that opinion, whatever, what have you.
Right.
But then when I go out and try and draw again, it's like my mind will start picking at the fact that I can't draw.
Right. So that's
even though I know I can draw.
Right. So in other words, you feel that you are actually affected by what people say.
Yes.
That's very interesting. So now that's a whole separate issue. Do you think that that is something that you would like to be so? And really, if you would had, if you could choose how things were, would you like things to actually not be that way as a choice? I mean, like you could say they shouldn't be that way. I try not to use the word should, but in that context.
Well, I suppose it is just basically they're saying things that I say to myself, the negative things when you beat yourself up. I suppose they're just saying that in a different way. It's like they know that that's a problem that I have, or an issue that I'm trying to mend, and then they just attack it and throw it at me.
Right. So that's what I was saying earlier. Insults or meanness or nastiness only bother us if we feel there's some element of truth to them. That's why they're bothersome. Because if somebody said to you, well, you know what, you can't be an elephant, or you can't be a donkey, you say, well, so what? I'm not trying to be a donkey or whatever. It doesn't matter. So it's only when there's some kind of a relevance to it, that it makes it problematic, right? So that's the thing. When they say, like, you can't draw, it's not what they say that's the issue. It's what you say that's the issue.
Yeah. I suppose it's just like they're just, like I said before,
Right.
the things that I say to myself.
Right. They are basically like your subconscious or your inner self being expressed through the world. So in a way, if you shift perspective on this, and perspective shifting is just magical. It is incredibly magical. If you shift perspective on it, and instead of looking at them as being this horrible thing, how about saying, wait a second, just what if they are actually a powerful, powerful gift from the universe, a gift of awareness, a gift of me getting to know what the issues are inside me that I need to kind of pay attention to and sort out and take care of. How would that work for you?
I kind of try and view it that way anyway, because I said to you before last time we had a conversation that I found this thing that said Odin gives us what he thinks we can handle.
Exactly.
So apparently he thinks I'm a badass. So I kind of already assume that every situation I've been in, whether negative or positive, is given to me by the universe because they know that I can handle it. You know?
Exactly.
If
It's
that
a
makes
gift,
sense.
not just that you can handle it, but a gift, a capital G gift, an awesome, profound gift of learning and growth. Not a gift of niceness necessarily, but a gift of learning and growth. So next time somebody says something to you like that, do me a favor, just as a test, and let me know how it works out for you. Thank them. I mean, truly, truly thank them. Say, thank you for that gift of awareness. End of story. That's it. You just thank them and you mean it. Absolutely, sincerely mean it from the depths of your heart. Like it is Odin speaking to you through that person. Right? And see how that works for you psychologically, how that transforms the way you react to it. Because if you thanking this sincerely, even though it's not nice, doesn't matter, right? You might not like it, but you're saying thank you for this gift of goodness, because what's good isn't always nice. But you thanking them for this gift of goodness. Okay, I might not like it, but I'm still thanking you because I know that there's value in it. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to suck that value out of it and figure out how this is valuable. Yeah?
Yeah. You're making me a deal.
I
You're
am making
challenging me.
you. I am challenging you. And I am truly asking this as a favor because I am truly, truly interested to know how it would work for you. So, I'm really challenging you to give it your best shot. And, not just with one person, whoever, a couple. Like, really give it a good shot to test it out and try it. Like, give it your best try and see how it works out. It may or may not work. We don't know. I suspect it will, but nonetheless, I like I said to you before, in everything that I do, in the course, everything, rule number 0 is not even rule number 1. It's like the pre-rule: belief not required. So I try to approach everything from that perspective, where say, it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, just go out and give it a test. So you don't have to believe this is going to work. Just give it a thorough, good, honest, sincere try and see if it works out. That's it. If it works, it works. Great. Then you can use it whether you believe it or not, which is the fabulousness of that type of thing.
That's better than the one that I got.
Which
one that I got is it's a rhyme.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
I got it right in front of me. You can read it out. It goes,
please, yeah.
Candle white, candle bright. What is made wrong is now made right. Yesterday is gone, and what is done is done. All will be well by morning sun.
There you go. It's brilliant. Perspective shifting. Rachel, for that poem, how would you write that poem? If you were to make a post in the group, right? And another thing that would be very powerful to do. If you were to make a post in the group and you were to say, repeat that poem, but in your own words, not as a poem necessarily, but in any form, to say what that poem means to you, what it means to you inside, but write it out, how you feel that means to you in your own words. That's very powerful, because when you do that, when you transform that poem, and especially when you actually express it either verbally or even more powerfully when you put it in writing, even more powerfully when you make a post, because that post is it's public, and by implication it's a post to the universe. And so it's something that you can stand by, you stand behind it, because you're putting it out there, right? So because you're honest, you kind of stand by it. So it has a little bit of extra leverage. So when you make that post about what it means to you, that poem, you making it your own, you owning it. And when we own things, they become real to us, and we add to our own realness, because we can't live somebody else's words. We can't live somebody else's ideas. We can't live somebody else's life. We can only live our own. So we have to make those points of learning, those points of understanding, those realizations, those things that are cool to us. We have to make them our own. So if you translate that into your own language and say, this is what I feel it to be, me, Rachel, this is what I stand behind, this is what I think it is, and post that, that's very powerful. That's a very simple little technique for changing yourself. It's a self-change technique, and self-leverage also. Very powerful. Very simple, but very powerful.
It is. And I kind of do that already. Do you know that one you had, that lady you were talking to last night?
Oh, to Connie, yeah.
Yeah, she seems really lovely, actually.
Oh,
she like
is.
her.
She is. She's fabulous. She's fabulous.
Yes. She made a comment which I didn't actually post, which went on to explaining something.
We're talking about spirit. You're talking about the conversation where we're talking about spirit, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I had deleted it because I thought it was a bit too much, so I didn't actually post it. But when we were talking about that, and I was explaining my interpretation, how I like, the gods, I like spiritual as a whole, the Wiccans' idea of what they believe the gods are, the witches' idea of the mother maiden crone, and the Bible's idea, and the shamanic idea, and the Buddhists and spiritualists, and so on and so forth. And she replied to that, saying, "We are with you for myself, my love and understanding, the divine in many ways, which has driven me into becoming an interfaith minister." She wonders if that's what was calling me. And I was going to reply to that, but then I thought it was a little bit too much about what I was going to say, because it went full on heathen. And I even started
Rachel.
No.
No worries.
Because it was really
no worries. Look, the group is about self-awareness, self-improvement, and self-discovery. And it's a discussion group, right? So you post everything that is in that context, that you post it all. There's no limitation, because that's the point. It's to discuss things. It's to discuss. When you post about that stuff that adds to your own self-awareness, right? It's also part of your self-discovery. The more we discuss that, look how fantastic that thread was, where Joseph started in his fabulous comment about spirit. Then it prompted me to, and responded me, and Connie came in, and you came in. We all started talking about spirit and how we perceive it differently, and the different meanings and all. It was fabulous. So, and through that, I not only get to discover what Joseph sees about spirit, what you do, what Connie does, but myself also. Every time we discuss, we explore, and we get to be more self-aware. And through self-awareness, we improve. And through self-discovery, we improve ourselves. We expand ourselves. We develop ourselves. So no, please, there's never any restriction. You post on it. I can't think I've ever deleted any posts except people who are advertising. So, no worries at all, And there was one that I never deleted them, but I kind of, it was hard, because all they were doing was self-promotion. They were making posts, but really they were trying to be clever, and trying to be like a guru or whatever, and they were just pushing this whole vibe. So okay, I spoke to them many times, but I'm very tolerant about what's in the group, and so is Olivia. So it's truly not a problem. Anything goes pretty much. Unless you've got them. Yeah, go ahead.
It's just before that, when I've gone like full heathen mode about my actual beliefs and everything before, I've been burnt quite a lot. I mean, I guess it's kind of my own fault, because I've been in like spiritualist groups before where they refer to They don't refer
Right,
to
right,
spirit, they refer to God
right,
specifically. So, they're not actually spiritualists.
right,
They're actually just
right,
a Christian group. And they've
right,
been like,
right.
oh no, we don't have witches here, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm
all
like, I'm not a witch.
right.
You know,
It's all
witches,
contextual.
Wiccans,
Right,
pagans, different.
right. No,
It's
right.
just like, but I can go on about things like one of the things I was going to say is one of the things that is promoted, which is a saying, to these gods you cannot pray, for these gods will make you suffer, but they will never break a promise, because a promise once given is a promise that binds that person making the promise,
Interesting.
which is basically like a spiritual contract in heathenism to Odin. But
Right.
I went on to explain what that meant to me. But people usually don't read that bit, and you're like, "Oh my god, you said that! It's a bit on." Now I've been kicked out.
Nah, don't worry. It all depends on the group. Also, just as a helpful tip, start your post with it, like put it in caps even. To me, this means, or I believe, as a heading, right, as a title, and then you go after that, so that you are saying this is my opinion. I believe this is what I feel.
Yeah,
You state it as a heading, like say, even put it in all caps at the top. And that way you are very clearly saying, hey, this is my angle on things. And that's it. I'm expressing my angle. Here's the other thing, Rachel. Post those stuff. Write it out. Get because a lot of times, especially if you don't have people that you can regularly chat to about stuff, the stuff gets all bottled up and it needs to get that expression. So get it out, express it, say it all, and and then you get it sorted. You get it all, together with inside yourself, and then you don't have that pressure, and then you kind of can get more in tune with where you want to be at. You sorting it, in other words. So yeah, through that expression, it doesn't matter if anybody reads it. That's beside the point. It's totally irrelevant. They can choose to read it or not. The value is for you in the expression of it and putting it out there, because yes, we express stuff inside our heads, but inside it's kind of a little foggy and it's not so clear. When we express it out loud, when we write it
oh
down, when
god,
we
you've got.
post it, it's a whole different deal.
Mm. And I agree, but it's just some people just don't want to do
Well,
that. It's like there are stereotypes for everything. For example, like when you mention witch to people, the first thing that they think of is either one of two things: the stereotypical witch with the green skin and the long pointy nose lives in a cabin in the middle of somewhere, which is a cool concept. Or the other version,
right,
which is very like, oh, they hate God, the Satanists, they worship demons and devils, and etc., etc. And it's like,
right.
no, anybody who worships the devil is not a pagan, a witch, or a Wiccan. The
Exactly.
devil doesn't exist in my religion, in my path.
exactly. So think of what you're doing as, and what the group. I think we even have it in the group description. What we revolve around is about understanding, not agree or disagree. We don't really care about a disagree or agree at all. Not interested. Any discussion is about understanding. So I don't necessarily need to agree with what you are saying, but I want to understand where you're coming from. I want to understand about your heathen perspective or pagan perspective, right? Which is more accurate, I believe, than heathen. But anyway, because heathen is specifically related to a religion, whereas pagan is just your own deal, right? But at any rate, I want to understand. I want to understand everybody, not just their religion. I want to understand their feelings, their mindsets, their thinking, their personal philosophies, how they apply them, how they learn, how they grow, everything. I want to understand. That's what the group is all about. Understanding. I've even got a post
Yeah.
somewhere. You can look it up. Capital U understanding. There's a really cool post about that. So when you post from that perspective, you're sharing your understanding of how you personally understand it. If somebody else is interested, they can get involved and further that understanding. That's the point of the group. For those some people, and to me, those some people, it's like some people who are going to take it wrong and who are get stuck on cliches and all that. Well, they have to broaden their minds and expand their awareness. We can't force that. That they have to do on their own accord. However, if
Yeah.
you also see in our group description, we have 3 keywords that we revolve around: hashtag awareness, hashtag discernment, and hashtag understanding. Which, if you take the first letters of that, it's ADU, right? Which is add you,
Mm-hmm.
or add to you, or add to the universe. So through awareness and discernment and understanding, we add to ourselves, we add to you, we add to the universe. And that's also what the group is all about. Through us sharing ourselves in the group, we sharing what can raise awareness. Generally, we bring awareness to what we're sharing about. I'm not trying to teach anything. I'm not trying to tell you you must believe this or not or whatever. No, I'm simply sharing what's me, what I think, what I feel, what I believe, what I see to be valuable, what I see to be interesting, etc. I'm sharing. Share, share, share. In that way, people can relate to it whether they want to or not. But nonetheless, even if they're not into it, they might even just glance at it casually. It still goes into awareness, and it's never lost. So through sharing, we raise the awareness of everything. In other words, we raise the awareness of the universe through sharing. So awareness, discernment, understanding adds to you, the universe, and to you, the individual. Very powerful. So share away, post away, not a problem. All I ask is just put a nice picture with it. I like pretty pictures.
I didn't know if you could notice my tattoo before, the tattoo I have beforehand. But I quite like posting magical staves of Icelandic magical staves and
fantastic.
Like heathenry,
brilliant
images, stuff.
Brilliant.
To me, they're not and stuff.
To me, say the last part again. To me,
they're not just pictures of wavy lines. They're called magical staves because obviously they're used in magics and rituals and rites and stuff. But there are certain ones that I practically obsess over because of what the meaning behind them is. Like one of them is called the Vegvisa, which is a spiritual compass. It gets tattooed over your heart, and it's supposed to lead you in a direction of where you truly want to be. And that basically just means anything. Like literally, if you want to find where the gods themselves lie and what kingdom they're in Valhalla, it will guide you in that direction. If you want to find yourself home because you're lost, it will guide you in that direction.
Wow.
And it's like a compass. It has lines like a compass in it, and it's got north, south, east, and west, and everything. It's just like, I love it. And the other one's the one I've got tattooed on my arm.
Wow.
The other one that I really love is the one I've had tattooed, which is the Otterspur.
Say that last word again. The what?
The Otterspur.
Wow. Otterspur. Wow.
It's basically a warding against your enemies. It's supposed to strike fear into the heart of your enemies. But what is an enemy? An enemy can be anything. It's whatever does you harm, seeks to do you harm.
Exactly. And to me, as from the way of impeccability, we approach things from a spirit warrior perspective. And our enemies as a spirit warrior are things like ignorance, lack of awareness, indolence, indulgence. Those things, lack of impeccability, those are our enemies. And they are much more powerful enemies than any others. And anything else are gifts for us to help to overcome those. So it's a very profound way of looking at things. But that's really powerful. And what you're sharing about the staves, staves are quite fabulous. Yes, I agree. They are most exciting and just very, so yeah, by all means, if you're making posts about things, please, add a picture of a stave if it's appropriate, or just connect it. Doesn't even have to be that appropriate if it's just, pretty. It don't matter. It's all good. It doesn't matter. Here's the thing, part of self-discovery, part of self-awareness, part of self-improvement. In other words, part of the point and purpose of the group is to be able to learn to deal with and handle our own beliefs and be comfortable with them. Now, if I cannot respect your beliefs, no matter how crazy they might be, right, or anybody else's, how can I expect you or anyone else, for that matter, to respect my beliefs? So if I want to have beliefs, right, and have people be okay with my beliefs, I have to be okay with your beliefs. If your beliefs don't actually do me harm, yes, it's one thing to believe that you're a serial killer and that's cool, well, that's a whole different deal, because now your beliefs actually affect me. But if your beliefs are just beliefs and they have nothing to do with me and they don't affect me, they don't touch me anyway, then that's all cool. So I have to respect your beliefs and I have to enjoy them, because how can I then expect not the same for my beliefs, right? So that applies to everybody, because we all have beliefs, and belief is a choice. And here's the key, though. You can as well look up hashtag celebrate difference. When we get shift to that mindset where we celebrate the difference, then we start to see the magic of the world. Because if we do not, we get stuck in that black or white mentality. And for people with black or white, all they have in between black and white is gray, which is a pretty miserable existence,
Yeah.
right? However, when we
Well, I
start
don't know.
when we start to celebrate difference, what do? We connect to
Yeah.
all the fabulous colors, right?
Yeah.
So it's a whole different ball game when we celebrate different. To live in a world of fabulous color, the glory of color. It's like, oh man, yes, you have black and white in there too, but man, you got all this fabulous color. So it's just
Yeah.
celebrate.
I can.
So post away, in other words, right? So
That's like,
post away.
yeah. That's like a conversation I actually had with, again, my mum, who I talk to about everything. Oh, sorry.
Brilliant.
You cut off there.
Brilliant.
You cut off. What did you
Oh,
say?
I'm
Sorry.
just saying brilliant. I'm just saying brilliant. I'm just celebrating you, Rachel, man. I love it.
Okay. Um, I had a conversation with my mum, and one of our many conversations, because everything I talk about is my mum's conversations. Um, we were both like watching a TV show called Ghost Adventures, and the guy that runs Ghost Adventures is a bit of a silly one, to put it nicely. He's like,
All right.
he was bumping into like these witches, and they were saying, "Oh, I'm a white witch," or "I'm a black witch," and me and my mum were laughing, saying that either one of two things: naive or foolish, because magic isn't good and it isn't evil. It's whatever you make it.
Exactly.
Everything that exists that has good also has bad. Like, there's an Egyptian goddess which I quite like. Her name's Bast. She's known as the most beautiful of all the gods, and she's kind and she's gentle and she's like just this pinnacle of feminine beauty with a little cat head. And in the Egyptian pantheon, that aspect is like, it's pushed forward through this goddess because she's beautiful, she's kind, she's nice. But at the same time, if you upset her or wrong her, then she releases this fury that no one can match. Her bad side is really bad and her good side is really good, because she is both. She's neither good nor evil. She just walks that fine line. It is what you make it. Like, all these people go on about wolves and how they symbolize loyalty and family and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which they do. But then you also have negative aspects to that, like the berserkers would channel the wolf to aid them in combat because they also symbolize anger, they also symbolize hate. There's two wolves called Skull and Hati. Skull swallows the sun, Hati swallows the moon, starts Ragnarok.
Wow.
And they are the two wolves. Skull is the one who hates, and Hati is the one who mocks. So
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Wow. I love hearing about this stuff. That's the magic of, and all the stuff you share. It's so fabulous because, like you're bringing awareness of moreness. And each time we do that, we shift the perspective, and perspective shifting is so incredibly powerful. I love it. I love it, Rachel. I love it, man. It's really awesome. It's most excellent. It's not the things in themselves that make a difference. It's how we relate and connect to them that makes the difference, right?
Yeah.
So what does it matter really what it is and what name it has? It's all the same in the end when you abstract it to its core essence, so it's all about learning, all about awareness and goodness. So, it doesn't matter. It's fabulous. It's fantastic. So yeah, no, I want to see more posts from you about what's important to you, what matters to you, what's relevant to you, your learning, particularly, Rachel, when you share the posts, share your journey of your own personal self-change, self-growth, your journey of self-discovery, like what's important to you, what matters. Like, hey man, you know what, this like really like blew my mind today, this expanded me today, you know, stuff like that. And then you know, even though it's connected to whatever, share that kind of stuff. It's fabulous. You know, you have so much to share. Share, please, Rachel, share. It's fantastic. I love it.
I will try my best. I get known for being that person that overshares. You know, I'm
Don't worry
she who
about it.
overshares, and I get told by a lot of people, "You're too open. You need to start putting up boundaries." And I'm just like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay."
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
But
it.
I'm just a natural
Truly.
open book.
You know, you share. The thing is too, Rachel, like I said, you know, sometimes we have a lot of pent up stuff in us. And it just because you're sharing a lot now. And yes, okay, so maybe for some people they can see the bit of oversharing. So what? But nonetheless, though, even yourself, you may think it's a bit of oversharing. Doesn't matter. The fact that you're sharing a lot now doesn't mean you're always going to be sharing a lot. Get it out and then see if it stays that way, you know, and then deal with it. But likely, I'll bet you anything, it's a temporary thing that you just got all the stuff that's built up inside you. You got to get it out. And once you get it out, you find a way to, you know, share it regularly. It's going to be not so much. And then you'll find that happy balance where it's appropriate. So, yeah, don't worry about it. You know, again, people don't have to look at the posts. They can just skip them. It's not a problem. So,
It's
you know,
uh,
it's not a problem, you know. It just share away, man, please share away, no worries.
I will try my best. It's just you know, I going back a little bit. There was this saying, watching this TV show, Vikings. I love Vikings.
Yeah, it's a
I could
good
go on
show.
forever
It's a
about
good show.
Vikings.
It's a good show. Yeah.
There was during when Ragnar was going to get executed by the English. There was something that he had, like he said, to a seer, which is basically the seer would be the person that contacts the gods and will practice necromancy and would practice Azatru and rituals and rites and, you know, etc., etc. Which is why he has his eyes burned out, because they see as they don't. He doesn't need his physical eyes because he can see beyond the physical realm. And he said to him, "Your words can be interpreted so many different ways, and that is basically just any belief system. It's the same aspect, but it can mean something different to someone else." You know? And
Right,
before I left
exactly.
the group, I actually had a lot of conversations with a lot of people in there, and it was really fun to hear their interpretation of heathenism.
Yes.
It's like, ooh, you know,
That's the magic of it. When you share, you hear other perspectives, and that's the real value, is
yeah,
getting alternative perspectives. You know, it's like the truth or an understanding uh, of any topic, right? Let's think of whatever the topic is in general, as something like we're represented by the inside of a house, and we're trying to understand what that topic is. But the way it happens, just the way things are set up in life, is that we got to look at it kind of from the outside. So we're trying to understand the inside of a house by looking through a window. But if you only look through one window, it's kind of pretty difficult to get an idea of what exactly how the house is set up on the inside, right? To really comprehend the fullness of the
yeah,
inside. So we're going to look through multiple windows. And that's what perspective shifting is. It's looking through those multiple windows. And here's the magic of it, right? When we look at that, the more
mm,
windows we look at through, the better we understand the inside of that house, right? However, we don't have to look through all the windows. At some point, we look at enough, and then we can put together, we can construct, we can extrapolate the inside of the house and put it together and say, now I click what's going on. And that's the power of perspective
yeah,
shifting. You shift enough times, at some point it all clicks together and it falls into place. It's like, now I get it. Now I understand. And we're talking not here about understanding in the sense of, you know, like facts and figures and technical details. I'm talking about true, deeper understanding, like understanding your perspectives on truth, understanding your perspectives on goodness, understanding how awareness works, stuff like that. The abstract topics. The more perspective we
mm,
have, the more we connect to those overall topics of life. And that's the power of sharing, the power of discussing, the power of sharing perspectives. We get to understand more. Yeah.
Yeah, I,
So
I I actually like that analogy of the house, because the more windows you look through, not only do you see like more of that the inside of the house, but you also see different things as well. Because you like
exactly.
you look through the living room, you'll see the living room. You look through the bedroom, you'll see a bedroom, bathroom, etc., etc., etc.
Right.
So you never stop learning.
Exactly, exactly. And you know, we assume we know what's going on inside. We assume we have sort of more or less of an idea of what things about. But inevitably, especially if we do this consciously and deliberately, if we make space for surprise, then surprise comes. If we make space for awesome, awesome comes. If we make space for grace, grace comes. If we make space for awareness, awareness comes. We have to make space for it. So the act of actually doing it, of looking and shifting windows to look more, that act of looking carries an intent with it, and that is an intent to more. And that intent to more, capital M more, that is really, really, really profound. So yeah, perspective shifting is incredible magic. You know, it's a big part of the course that I was telling you about, the Wave Impeccability course. It's a huge deal. It's a major, major big deal. We have our own separate workshop actually on it that we do via Airbnb, on just that perspective shifting for self-discovery. It's a very big deal. It's huge. It's awesome. So we treat the inside of the house as the inside of ourselves, and we get all these perspectives. We shift perspectives on ourselves to discover more about ourselves. How awesome is that? Right?
That that is amazing. It's like that's like right up there with something else that I learned, which was a shamanic idea, which
Ah,
was
listening.
it said basically, well, shamans, they use drugs for a start to like go on their spiritual journeys, but I'd take away the drugs. I'm not interested in doing that side of it, but it's like journey inside yourself. It's like when you have a spiritual experience, when you like, for example, you have Yggdrasil, which is the tree of life, and it
Yeah.
connects all realms. It connects the sky and the earth and Midgard and everything in between. And a shaman can travel up and down that tree into its roots. It can go to Alfheim, it can go to Helheim, it can go to Valhalla. Depends on where the shaman wants to go. But in order for them to travel up and down the tree, they have to go inside themselves, because
Mm.
it's a journey inward. And when you die and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, that isn't a light and it isn't a tunnel. The soul has gone inside of itself, and that blackness where it looks like there's a tunnel is actually a space that is called the realm of never ending sleep, where basically it's the foundation on what your ego and the very fabric of your soul is built on. And a
Wow.
shaman can learn to go there to learn about themselves.
Wow.
But when this guy was explaining it, who is a shaman, he was like, and don't ever do it unless you're prepared, because
Yeah.
it will show you exactly everything, the negative and the positive. And then he
Right.
brought up this Bible verse saying that there were three men that went into the gates of heaven. One died, one went mad, and the other one, he got a crown upon his head, and everyone bowed to him and whatever, which is an analogy of going into that space, because
Mm.
it will shock you that badly. It can cause death, or it can show you things that you're not ready to see, which will drive you mad. And
Right.
if you journey into that space and see a light, because of the blackness, it'll look like a tunnel, but it's
Mm.
not. That light is the divine light. And if you see that, then that basically means you reached enlightenment and that you've connect directly to the divine. And basically, when you come out of that, it's a really positive experience. He explained his anima, which was a beautiful woman, because men who are attracted to females will their anima will be a female, and it'll be a female that is attractive to that individual.
Wow. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Beauty and sexy. And if you're a man attracted to men, then it would be your anima would be a man, or what
Mm.
you see attractive. But that is supposed to be the aspect of um, the the great divine, and man is God, and obviously the female is the goddess. And we all have God and goddess inside of us, masculine and feminine. Everyone does. And you have to reach balance between the two. Because if you're purely feminine, then by my magical practices means you're chaotic. And because chaotic means imbalance. In order to be not chaotic, you need to have perfect balance.
Yes.
Another example of that is if you're good and a good person and will always help other people, and you'll never say anything bad about someone, you'll never acknowledge negative emotions, you'll never act out of anger, etc., then you are chaotic because you're not balancing the good with the bad. You know?
No, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Yes, that's for me, just to give you a takeaway from what you're saying there. It all connects to the apex term in the A+ philosophy, which is appropriateness. That's what we're aiming for. We're striving for the ability to be appropriate in any situation, which means that a way of behaving in one situation is totally appropriate, but in another it's not. And we need that ability to be able to be appropriate. In some situations, to be angry is appropriate, or to be aggressive. Like if you're being attacked and you respond with anger, sometimes you can put that off. Like with animals specifically. With humans, it may have the opposite reaction again. So it's all about appropriateness. We have to understand that. Plus, we have to have strategy to add to that, which strategy is always appropriate, so that we can say that, you know what, maybe the usual reactions like fight or flight, I've got a whole post on it. There's a whole bunch of other reactions that are incredibly powerful and even much better responses than either fight or flight. Those two are very limiting. Like, for instance, just literally, right, in taking your example, or where you said, you're walking down the street, you're transgender, and you get kind of crap coming your way. Right now, if you respond typically, like most people would, with fight or flight, that limits your options. Now, what happens if you, for instance, start and you respond with neither of those, but something like just being crazy? You just like, let's say you start singing and dancing. What the hell are they going to do now? This is like something outside of their way of thinking. It just, blows their minds. Like, what the hell are you doing? Well, you kind of being a bit crazy. It's like, you're supposed to either run away or fight. You're supposed to be angry or be timid or cowed or, bullied. But you're not. You're just being crazy. It's like they don't know how to deal with it. It breaks the mold of expectations. So that's a very powerful way of dealing with that. And literally, actually, when it comes to physical aggression, this is an incredible, powerful way of dealing with it. Or you can join them and you can basically start kind of ragging on yourself. It's like, well, now you're on their side attacking yourself. It's like, what the hell now? Again, they don't know what to do. So there are many options, many other strategies, in other words, that one can employ rather than fight or flight. So my point is what you were saying, that, there's about appropriateness. There's not just the opposite. There's a whole range of different reactions that are appropriate. In other words, it's not black or white, but they're colors. We can respond with color, in other words, to things. It's incredibly valuable. So, yeah, what you were saying, my takeaway, it's that from everything you were saying is that it's all about that appropriateness and developing the ability to be appropriate, which is all about expanding our awareness, developing our awareness, right? Rachel, you there?
Yes, of that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. I'm just giving you my takeaway. It's just part of how I do, so that when I hear your stuff, that it sticks with me in my words, so that now what you said, I've made it my own, and it's like now making it valuable. And you're talking about a whole different way of being appropriate, and there's different paths, different actions. I love that, but it stays with me now. It's very potent, it's very powerful, and it's very exciting.
There's a good example I can give. There's a really good example I can give, because I was watching this YouTube video, just nosing about on YouTube, and it came up, and it was the way that they set it up. It was supposed to be comical, but it was like that sort of comedy that went a bit too far, in the sense of there was these two people arguing in the street. One was a van driver, and the other one was just Joe Bloggs down the street, and they were seeming to be in an altercation. And the van driver was just laughing and nodding like, yeah, whatever you say, mate. and he noticed that this woman was filming them both, and he's like, "Are you recording this?" And she was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Why?" Because it's funny. So then he started like making a little bit of a show out of it, and this guy took that and decided, rather than just walk away like, "You two are crazy," he decided to lean in really close and say that he was going to do really nasty stuff to this guy's kids. He's like, really nasty stuff. I won't even like say what he said because it was really horrible.
Don't.
Rather than this guy, just like carry on with his comedy, he decided to headbutt him and knock him down onto the floor. And rather than carry on attacking him, he just started circling around him, shouting, the stuff that he said he was going to do. And if he comes near his kids, or he comes near his house, or you sees him on his street, wherever he's walking down and up and down the street, then he's going to basically, do nasty things to him. And for me, that is the example, because he wasn't letting his words get to him. But then when he took it a bit too far and made a threat that became real, he then defended his family by attacking this guy with violence. And then rather than carry on attacking him, he circled him and put the fear of God in him so that he will leave his family alone. And then when he made his point, he walked off and carried on, and they took the video into the police, and the guy was arrested.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, there's so many ways to respond and react that, that is an example of behaving in ways and responding that are atypical. But, again, we tend to fall into habitual ways and traditional ways of thinking, which thinks that things revolve around either violence or non-violence, aggression, non-aggression. But there are other ways of responding to things. You can just, like I said, respond with joy. You could just laugh and just really be happy, purely happy, not in any mocking way. And it's like, what are people going to do if you just enjoy whatever? If they're being mean and nasty and you just enjoy it, what are they going to do?
My point is, there is a line, the whole self-awareness thing is something that should apply to every area of your life.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, it should do, even in moments like that.
Yes.
But there is this really, really fine line when violence becomes necessity. Like if you're being attacked, life is in danger, then you need to be violent.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, if we live as a spirit warrior, though, and we say, okay, we understand violence is a part of the world. We understand aggression is a part of the world. However, as a true spirit warrior, we are agents of peace, and we're also agents of strategy. We're going to live our lives strategically. So I know what violence is. I know what it's about, and I don't want to be there. I don't want to have to use violence. So what can I do to not have to deal with violence? Now, that doesn't mean being avoidance. It means being strategic. In other words, we can develop the ability to look ahead. If we have the awareness to see trouble coming before trouble sees us, we can always get out of the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very powerful thing. So we don't always have to respond. If we have to respond in those ways, we kind of already a bit too late, and our strategy has let us down. So we want to develop a strategy that sees trouble before trouble sees us, and then we can get out of the way and we don't have to deal with trouble. That to me is the ideal strategy of appropriateness. In other words, again, that's going in a way that's looking at like a third way, because it's not about either or dealing with it like with violence. It's not how we can say, hang on, I'm not going to be in the place where violence is. So that's my way of dealing with violence or not dealing with it, because I'm just not going to be there. When violence comes around, sorry, I want to be elsewhere. Right?
Yeah. But as a heathen, our concept of that is when a fight comes your way, then you're supposed to fight with everything that you have.
Sure.
You don't run away. Sure. You don't cower. There's this thing that I saw, which was when the entire world is at your back and tells you to move, your one job is to plant yourself like a tree near the lake of truth, and you look back at the world and say, no, you move.
Right. Now, you said something very powerful, right? You said, when trouble comes your way, right?
Yeah.
However, I have freedom of choice as to where I choose to be and where I choose to place myself, right? So I can place myself Right, right, or exactly, or choosing to be in a place where battles are just not viable, right? So basically, I can hang out
Yeah.
on a ledge. You want to fight me on the ledge? Fine, go ahead. You know, you start fighting, you're gonna fall off. Okay, go ahead. You know, stuff like that. You know, there are alternatives to the usual way of approaching things and thinking things. We have to go kind of step out of the two-dimensional thinking, in other words, and say, hey, what, you know, we can go beyond this. We can really, there are so many ways of doing things, and different ways. It's that perspective shifting again. So all we have to do is say, hey, you know what,
Mm.
I can't change the elements, but let me look at it from a third way, a fourth way. How can I look at it from the longer term overview perspective and re-look and redefine how I can relate to everything? Like I said, you know, yes, if trouble comes my way, but it's a big if. I don't have to be there. That's a big if. I can place myself elsewhere, right? I can change my world, for instance.
Mm.
Live in a different world, literally, and that goes toward our intent and the way we describe the world and the way we relate and how we cue things and all of that stuff. You can really get, you know, very
Yeah.
spiritual about that and say, you know, the world is a description, we're the ones describing it, and take it to the nth degree in that sense, you know. So there's a lot that we can
Yeah.
do that we don't realize we can do. So it all depends on how we wish
Yeah.
things to be, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
agree with that. It's more along the lines of extreme circumstances. Like if somebody
yes,
pulled a knife out and was like, "Give me
right,
your money,"
right,
then
right,
unfortunately, no matter how much you don't want to be there, they're
right,
going to stab you. So you
right,
need to defend yourself.
right,
So you
exactly,
either fight them
right.
or you let them stab you. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, again, you know, from I literally have a little mini book that I wrote as a, you know, a long time ago. It's about the art of fighting without fighting, and it's a
Mm.
self-defense book, in other words. And the point and purpose of this book is, one, primarily, it's your number one defense is awareness. So if you're aware, then you're going to preempt that, and you're not going to be in a place where somebody can pull a knife or likely to pull a knife. You're going to see it coming before they even do it. You're going to see their intent before they can do it, and you can preempt them and deal with it in all sorts of ways. However, literally, when it comes to, because bullying and physical defense when I was a kid, that was a huge deal. So my entire life as a child was one of strategy. As far as I was concerned, everything I did was strategy. So this art of fighting without fighting, because, you know, when you're dealing with bullies and kids way bigger and older than you, fighting them back, it's just not an option. So you have to find other ways of dealing with it, and that's where this came about. You know, that you can deal with things like that in ways which will just like, they solve the problem without having to fight or be beaten up, either way, you know, without being aggressive or being a victim, either way. For instance, I actually was explaining this to a friend, or to an employee at the time, and also a friend anyway, and they said the example they used was, was a couple of my employees, three of them, and, you know, they were just walking along, and this gang came around, and you know, kind of confronted them, and it's like, well, you know, obviously started threatening them and everything. So my friend said, well, what he did was just he dropped his pants. Literally, that's what he did. Literally dropped his pants, and it's like, so the gang was like, what the hell, you know? They just like, they couldn't deal with it, and then the whole thing just went away. You know, it just changed the whole dynamic, all of the, because it was so unexpected, and it was so bizarre, and it was so non-usual, that it like fried their brains essentially, and the whole problem was resolved. So
Unfortunately, that wouldn't work here in Britain.
right, no, it's not necessarily the action of dropping the pants.
No,
It just happened to
yeah,
be the thing that
doing
was in.
something that they don't
Right.
expect.
And it was purely intuitive. It was exactly, it was going outside the boundaries of the normal, you know. So I'm just saying to say, you know, there's many ways we can deal with things which are beyond the usual aggression or victim. And it's very powerful. Like I said, you know, just some things is laughing, being on their side, joining them, say, okay, you know, like, yeah, I'm a dickhead. And you start like ragging on yourself, you know, whatever, you know, there's many, you
Yeah.
have to, it's about the appropriateness in the situation. But if we set ourselves ahead
Mm.
of time to be aware that, you know, in these situations, that 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 you can do something else. For instance, just another example, and this will actually, you know, this can really work really well with people that are in aggressive stances like that. They're typical in kind of an animal mindset. Now, if you see
Yeah.
somebody with a knife, you're walking down the street and you you know, you see this coming and you see it's happening and you can't get away from it. You have to go. Now, what would happen if you start like you get a fright, but you know, you react as if you're responding to a threat from somewhere else, not from the person with the knife, but something like, say, something kind of behind you, right? And you get, now you shift your attention and you start to move away or even run away from this bigger threat, right? Not the person with the knife, right? So in other words, by implication, you are more scared of this unknown thing right there behind you, which potentially might also be a threat. And you say to the guy, come, run, you know, that's coming, it's coming. What are they going to do? Now you've got a bigger unknown threat that's bigger than them with their knife. And it's like, well, shit, if this threat's bigger than me, I got to run too. And now, you see what I mean? You both run away now. Just for example, it actually literally works with animals. You can do that with animals. If you respond to a threat that's bigger than them,
Yeah.
you can cue them onto it. It's like, what the hell? And then they get all scared. They don't know what's going on, and they just run away. So, you know, and they forget
Like
all about
when you get a
attacking
bear
you.
attack.
Right, exactly. So because you imply through, you know, cueing your demeanor, your attitude, your vibe, your feeling, your mood set, especially if you can literally feel this massive fear, but not fear of them, fear of something else. Wow, shit, you know, now we both need to be afraid. And you kind of, you know, you draw them into that fear and you say, hey, Aria, you know, get away, you know, you're looking out for them. They see your intent, and people are very, very sharp when it comes to intent. We're all masters of perceiving intent, but we can use that. You know, so again, there's lots of ways of dealing with aggression that are beyond the usual ways. Very powerful, you know, part of the art of fighting without fighting, in other words. Very, very, very powerful. It's just amazing, you know. And when you start to think it through and you think of those examples and those instances that you've been in and start to think about alternative ways in which you can deal with it, you know, then you kind of train your brain. And when you're in that situation, you won't necessarily use one of those. You'll use whatever intuitively becomes up in you. Like my friend who dropped his pants. You know, he just did it intuitively. He wasn't thinking. You know, it just happened. And it was just genius, you know, but we have to trust that. But we have to prepare ourselves to make space for that intuitive solution to arise, whatever's appropriate in the situation, right?
Yeah. And it's yeah, I get that.
It's very powerful. Yeah.
That was just yeah, it is. And don't get me wrong, I do believe violence should be the last thing on your mind.
Yeah.
It's just there are situations that I can recall that it is going to be, unfortunately, it's going to be a given because, you know, it's just one of those things. You can't hide from violence because it's going to be everywhere. So there will be a situation at some point in everybody's life where they're going to have to be like, okay, then, well, it's either you or me.
Wow. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, you got to be prepared for everything. Sure. Yep, I agree. Isn't that part of being appropriate?
I completely agree with what you say.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I agree with everything you say. So.
Right. Yeah, you know, when you prepare yourself to appropriately deal with things, yes, like you said, some situations where it's inevitable and there's no other option, you can do that. The point I really am keen to make is that when that's the part where you think there's no other option. I want to expand that to say, wait a second, you know what? We only think there are certain options, but sometimes, or mostly, always pretty much, there are more options than we actually know that there are. And that's very, very powerful to be aware that there are more than the usual options, like fight or flight, for instance. I have a big beef with people say, oh, fight or flight, you know, those are your choices. Hell no, there's a whole bunch of other options beside fight or flight, you know. I mean, freeze is one that animals use, for instance, you know, and like goats, you know, you've seen the goats where they just kind of keel over and they look like this, they kind of lock solid. They look like they just fell over dead and they're all stiff like that. That's a different option between fight or flight, right? It just freezing, for instance, you know, dropping dead, you know, having a fit. What's somebody going to do who wants to stab you and you just kind of fall down dead, you know? It's like, what the hell? You know, oh, crap, you know, they run away, likely. You know, or possibly, you never know, you know, it depends, you know, but still, my point is that there's other options that are available, and it's to make ourselves aware that there are other options, to train our brain to think of other options, because that expands the choices that we have. and therefore we can act appropriately in a whole range of different ways, which are more empowering, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Batman.
Exactly. Have multiple like that. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love
Yeah,
that. I love that.
because
Oh,
I
I love
don't
that.
I don't really like the movies or the
No, no,
like
I know what you mean.
the TV shows of it, but I love the comic books.
Right.
And there's a lot of things in the comic books that are more
Yeah,
adult orientated.
right.
And there is this one comic book where where someone said to Batman, "Oh, you only have these choices. They got hostages and they've got guns, and if you go in there, guns blazing, then they're going to kill them. So we can either save them or we can let them die." And he said, "No, that's not it. There's always another option. There's always something else." And then
Exactly.
he goes in and he's a ninja and they don't know he's there and he's moving around and he gets all the guns and he gets all the
Right.
armed people and
Right.
then he gives them all up to the police and I'm just like, that's a moral right there.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Because you can't
Exactly.
learn
Like
anything from
Batman,
comics.
there's always another option. And failing that, I thought you were going to say, well, say, you know what? I'll just send in the bats. And, people are scared of bats. He sends in a whole swarm of bats. They can't stand the bats and they all come running out because the bats are scaring the crap out of them and, getting in their hair. People are terrified of bats. So, he just uses the bats to kind of flush them out. That would have been, for me, that's what came to mind. But anyway, again, it's a fourth option even, right?
Oh my God.
Isn't that a cool
I just
option,
had a
right?
good thought. Yeah,
What?
it is. That's a really good thing. It's just giving me like this massive epiphany. He's like, I could just do my Gollum impression.
Exactly. There you go. It's this. There's so many options, and it's also when we understand the intent of aggression. It's people want to intimidate,
Yeah.
and when they can't intimidate, that all falls away. Now, if you come with counter aggression, they know how to deal with that. Also, then you force them to like counter it, and now you start escalating all that. But when you do something that they don't know how to deal with, well, then they just feel stupid, and they hate feeling stupid and they don't want to deal with it, and then they leave. You know what I mean? So that's why, like,
Yeah.
things that are normal, right? It kicks in their fear of the unknown, and we can leverage that. So we have to also use, be strategists, and of course, as a master strategist, you're a master of psychology also. So hey, you know what? We're going to use this. If you're going to be a dickhead, I'm going to use your dickheadness against you. In other words, I'm going to leverage that dickheadness and say, okay, well, you got a dickhead. Typically, dickheads are afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of looking stupid. They're afraid of, looking silly and being made. So they don't want to deal with stuff that's going to make them look bad. So you know what? You can use that. Lots of options. Lots of options. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
The art of fighting without fighting.
It's actually
Profound. Sorry, go ahead.
There's an example that I can use that goes all the way back to when I was a teenager.
Oh yeah.
Someone I knew in high school made me feel like a knobhead because they were bullied into bullying me.
Right.
So rather than respond the way you've just said, I hit him with a stool, and I hurt him really badly. He went to hospital and what have you. But then when he came out of hospital, he had this giant egg on his head, and he became really twitchy around me. But then the more we started having conversation, the less twitchy you got, and somebody started bullying him. I think it was a play that came to the school, but somebody basically started bullying him. So rather than react the way that I did, and rather than react the way he used to do, he just dropped down onto his like stomach and then started like kicking his legs around, so he's spinning in a little circles, screaming, "Help! Help! Oh my God, they're everywhere!" Blah 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 blah.
Brilliant.
He put me in stitches, and my side hurt so much, and I was crying. It was
brilliant.
It was really funny to watch, and just even thinking back to it is making me smile.
Wow, fantastic.
And then when I said to him, "Well, why did you do that?" and he was like, "Because you don't always have to hit people." And I was just like, "That's true.
Wow.
That's true. You made me feel like a dickhead now because I hit you when you bullied me, and someone bullied him, and he reacted completely differently."
Wow.
So,
but you know what, Rachel? You know how profound your story is. Do you see the gifts of learning that we have in our lives? They're there. We just have to learn the lessons. That was a profound gift for you. A profound gift, no?
Yeah, I do believe it was. I mean, at the time, And for years after, I just like, he was just a bit of a dick. But
Uh,
now I'm just like, yeah. But to be fair, that's what sparked off my sarcasm and my humour.
mm,
Because usually when people are really nasty, I've started to get into the habit of being really sarcastic.
yeah, it's not a good habit. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Rachel,
I
do me a favor, would you, please?
Yeah,
That story of this one you just told me about the guy you hit, and then when he got
yeah.
bullied, and that write it out for me and post it in the group. That's a profound
Okay,
story. Yeah,
okay, okay.
it's a really deep. It's really it's a magical story of a gift of profoundness of awesome. It's just a phenomenal story. So that just yeah, I'd love to see that as a post. I really would. That's something
Yeah,
special. Man, that's
I can
awesome.
write that out.
Rachel, I'm really hungry, so I actually want to leave on that note. And I mean, as much as I love chatting to you, I'll chat all day, but I'm also really hungry. But also, that story is so profound. I want to keep that profoundness in me, and and hold that and let that sink in, because that's it. Your story is not just an example of a solution; it's an example of the way the universe works, right?
Yeah,
That's why
yeah.
it's so profound. That's why I want to see it as a post. It is an incredible example of how the awesomeness of the universe works.
Yeah. There's a lot of things like, with like Christians and stuff, where they're always like, if you pray to God then he'll listen. I don't believe that. I believe the universe is give and take. Whatever the universe gives you, you have to give something back.
Right.
And there is this thing in heathenism where it's like self-sacrifice. You sacrifice something of yourself to the gods in order for the gods to give to you. And
Interesting.
I remember talking about this before. I can't remember if it was with you or with someone else. But I told them basically that doesn't necessarily mean, you cut yourself or you do this or you do that. I
Yeah.
mean, you have a bad habit, something that you rather live without, like you're too angry or whatever, then you sacrifice that anger to Odin, because then you can't be angry anymore. Because that anger is now not it's not your ownership. It
Interesting.
belongs to the gods. So
Interesting.
they will only make you angry. So they give you when you give them.
Wow. Now that's powerful. Now that fascinates me with what you brought up, right? Because we were talking about that particular story, and then you kind of jumped to this one, to this explanation of this, and they don't seem to be connected at first, but there is a connection, right? And in this sense,
Yeah.
that what did that boy that was, basically was pretending to have a tantrum, right? Like a humorous tantrum, right? So I'll just call him like Tantrum Boy. I don't know what else to call him, right? Unless you have a name for him. But so what Tantrum Boy did, Carl?
Carl. His name was Carl.
Oh, Carl. All right. So what Carl did, in my view, and if I connect the two stories, right? Carl sacrificed his self-importance. He was willing to look foolish. And that was the sacrifice he made to the gods, to say, you know what? In order to get out of trouble, I'm willing to sacrifice my self-importance. I'm willing to sacrifice looking cool or whatever. I'm willing to play the fool. I'm willing to sacrifice that self-importance to get out of trouble. That was the sacrifice he made, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make
pretty
sense?
much.
Right. I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure
because
out why you jumped from that one profound story. You automatically, intuitively went to the other story. What was the connection? Typically, there's a connection, and to me, that's the connection. I'm just articulating what I think intuitively you were making the connecting points. That said, you know what? He actually did sacrifice something. It may not necessarily have been his self-importance, but it may just have been looking cool or something like that. You know what I mean? Or it was he just his willingness to behave in ways that are outside of that. And he was willing to sacrifice risk, because that was risky what he did, right? So there are lots of things that he's potentially sacrificed, but that's the point. He did make a sacrifice, a profound sacrifice, and it was phenomenal. Plus, also, it sounded to me like you weren't kind of in a that you sort of made more or less little bitty friends with Carl in that moment, right? Or at least changed your relationship, I should say.
We were already starting to get to friendship status anyway, because like I said, after I hit him, he was really twitchy around me. But then the more we started having a conversation, the more he started to get humanized, and the more he saw humanized me, and then we just started talking, and talking turned into like sitting near each other, and then he did that, and I was just like, what an idiot.
Right. So take it to the nth. Let's take it to the full max level here, right? To the nth level, to the abstract level. So in that, if you say, you know what, you sacrificed your expectations, he sacrificed his expectations, and through that, you were able, both of you, to overcome the boundaries of convention. And where you had first started off, and you had this, enmity and aggression and nonsense, and all of it was based on what? Just expectations of rubbish, just nonsense, right? So when you threw away those conventional, crappy, habitual conventions, and you step beyond those boundaries, you sacrificed the security of convention, and you said, you know what, I can explore the unknown a little bit, and then you and Carl started to be more friendly. How awesome is that? Yeah.
That was, I mean, at the time, it didn't feel like neither here nor there, but yeah, I do believe it's awesome.
In retrospect. So
Yeah.
Rachel, I want to end our meeting, our chat right there. And on that note, write the whole story that we just talked about, including the sacrifice and your change of perspective. Write it all out for me and post it. Please, please, please. I would truly appreciate that. It would be a massive gift.
Yeah, I will.
Right,
I'll try and go as much detail about it as I possibly can, but I structure things like it's a story. So
exactly.
Excuse these stories.
No, you just share your heart, Rachel. You share your fabulous, wonderful heart. Please do. And it's always a joy chatting to you. Truly, I want you to know that it's a real true joy. You bring a lot of joy. You have a profound joyness in you. So that's awesome. So brilliant. Rachel, this was fantastic, man. I'll chat to you again. Definitely we'll do this more often, and it was awesome. It was fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing that post. So bye-bye, Rachel.
Okay.
Talk to you
bye.
Bye-bye.